In the Tenderfoot, Ginger had second billing to future huge star Joe E. Brown, and then appeared in a second movie with Brown. Here's a sampling of Ginger's best scenes in the movie.
Rest of the cast, and just as soon as Mr. Lehman comes in, It's your star. Do you want to talk to her? I'll, have him call you. Yes, Miss Martin. Well, did Mac tell you the good news?
Now, listen, Ruth.
Listen, nothing. I'm sick and tired of your stalling. I've had enough, and I'm through.
Will you let me talk? Do you know what just happened?
Yes, she had to come in the back way to dodge a sheriff.
Mac is sitting right in a box at the Follies now with a fellow with 20 grand in his vest and all in cash, too.
I've heard that one before.
I know it sounds like an alibi, but it's the truth. Now, you can't walk out on us now. I need you. Now, Mac's coming right back after the show. Now, we're going to contact him. We'll make a front to impress him.
I wouldn't be interested, even if you hadn't given me a bum salary check.
You'll get that back before night, I'm telling you.
That doesn't do me any good now. I've spent this money already, and now I'm faced with the embarrassment of
I'll
having
tell you what we'll do. If you'll help us to work on this fellow, I'll give you $100 bonus as soon as we hook him.
And to think when I took this job, I thought I was working for a legitimate theatrical producer.
It is a legitimate... Oh, you know what a hole I'm in.
Well, I certainly know what a hole I'm in.
You can get out of it if you'll only do as I say. Now, the first money that comes into the business, you'll be the first to be taken care of. Why, you afraid?
Not to the extent of $100.
That's the way to talk. I knew I could get you to play ball.
Don't kid yourself. It's only that right now I can't afford not to. If I hadn't spent that $50, I'd walk out of this office so fast it'd make your hair curl.
Now, listen, Mac is coming right back with this fella. As soon as he comes, you come into the office with a lot of important
Yeah,
looking
you
papers.
better be thinking up a good excuse in case your lady friend, Miss Martin, should arrive while he's here.
Don't tell me that dame's coming here.
Absolutely. And she's bringing 141 pounds of temperament with her.
Well, you stall her off, will you? Tell her she's getting thin or anything, but don't let her come into the office. Anything at all.
Where is that dirty, no-good, lying Lehman?
Why, Miss Martin...
Oh, I can't stand this humiliation any longer. Oh, the very idea. Me, a lady of the drama, being handed a lousy rubber check.
I know Mr. Lehman's going to be terribly upset when he sees you.
Oh, he'll be upset. That's very funny. What about me? And in this condition, think of my performance, my art.
If I were you, Miss Martin, I'd rush right back to the rehearsal. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if Mr. Lehman weren't on his way to the theater to see you right now with a brand new check.
Do you think so?
I'm almost sure.
Very well. I'll be back. But if this matter isn't adjusted by tonight, I withdraw from the cast. Tell him that, the weasel.
Take a letter. Florence Ziegfeld, New Amsterdam Theater, New York City. Dear Mr. Ziegfeld. No, change that. Dear Flo. Yours of the 12th instant at hand, in an answer, would say that your request to buy a half interest in our show was out of the question. We have many such... Well, Mr. Jones.
Solicitations.
Well, that's all, Ruth. Come in, Mr. Jones. Oh, Mr. Jones, welcome. Come in. Make yourself at home. Oh, what? Oh, come to think of it, I haven't got a script here. Mac, you tell him the first act.
You tell him. I choke right up every time I come to that scene about the girl and the baby.
Well, it's a play about a dame, see? Now get this, first act, log cabin, lonely ranch, night, lamps lit, outside the wind is howling, it's snowing.
20,000.
That's a quick answer, and it's a bargain. That's my motto. Think on your feet that quickly. Mac, quick the contract.
That's right.
Here
Think
you
on
are.
your feet.
Right dotted line, darling, right there.
There you are.
Ruth, take good care of Mr. Jones, will you? He's a full partner now and a half owner. Come on, Mac.
That wasn't much of an introduction, was it, Mr. Jones?
I reckon I don't mind if you don't.
Things happen pretty quickly in this business.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see I gotta learn not to hesitate. Think on my feet and act quick. Get your chalk and slate, I want to dictate.
take this letter and put it on the Fern stationery. And say, could you put my name at the top of the letterhead? You know, in typing?
Anything you say, Mr. Jones.
Dear Ma, this is the first letter from your son to his mother as a producer. As you see from the top of the letterhead, I'm one of the firm. Semicolon. I told you when I come to the city I'd make good quick. Didn't I, Possum? You spell that last. P-O-S-S-U-M. That's a little pet name I'll call my mother. Kind of silly, ain't it?
I think it's very lovely, Mr. Jones.
Paragraph. I ain't had no letters from you yet, and I'll miss you something terrible, especially at meal times. Every noon, Ma used to come and sit with me and talk for a couple hours while I was eating. I'm kind of the apple of her eye. You know how mothers are when they only got one son.
If you don't mind, Mr. Jones, I'd like to ask a question, a rather personal question.
Shoot.
That money you put up, that was yours and your mother's?
Sure it was. Every cent of it. That's all we got.
Oh. I'll have this letter for you in a few minutes, Mr. Jones.
$50, $60, $70, $80, $90, $100.
Well, that's that.
Now that we're in the big dough, you pick a fine time to quit your job.
Is that so? Well, you could turn this place into a mint and I still wouldn't work here.
Now, what do you say that for?
Oh, I don't know. You probably think I'm crazy, but there's some things I can't do. It's not so bad when you take money from a millionaire because he's got more. But this poor chump.
Oh, so that's what's eating you.
Oh, forget it.
Now, look here, Ruth. I'm not going to let you give up your job. I like you too much, see?
Come on, cut it.
No, I'm awfully fond of you. Honest I am, and if you'll only give me a chance to show you.
Calm down, Sam. You ought to know by now I'm wise to you.
Now,
Howdy, partner.
oh, howdy. All right, darling. If that's the way you feel about it, suit yourself.
Getting all ready for Syracuse?
No, Mr. Jones, I've resigned. I'm leaving in a few minutes.
Oh, gee. Oh, gosh, you can't do that.
I'm sorry, but I've made up my mind. I've reached the point where I need a change of climate.
But heck, this kind of, well, it kind of breaks me all up.
Breaks you up?
To be honest with you, Miss Ruth, the main reason I got into this outfit was because you was here. Now that you're leaving, I'm kind of sorry I ever got into it at all. Just as if the bottom dropped right out of it.
You make me feel bad when you say that.
Well, it's the truth, Miss Ruth. Honest it is.
I'm awfully sorry the whole thing happened.
Sorry what happened?
Oh, nothing.
Say, wait a minute. This whole shebang is on the square, ain't it? I mean the show?
Why, certainly.
And shows do make money, don't they?
Well, it's like any other business. Sometimes the show doesn't, but don't you worry. Lots of them do.
Gosh, for a minute you kind of had me sick at the stomach.
Are you going in to see Mr. Lehman?
I was, yes.
You tell him I've changed my mind and decided to stay.
You mean it?
I surely do.
Gee, that's great. Oh, boy. Say, I'll tell him right away. Oh, say, I nearly forgot. I brought you some flowers.
That's awfully sweet. I don't know what to say, Mr. Jones.
Oh, that's all right. My first name is Calvin.
Look, here he comes.
Yes, and look at him.
Okay, Syracuse! Go easy, folks. Take your time. There's plenty for everybody to look at. Kind of snappy, huh?
You look splendid, Calvin.
Did you ever see such a rotten audience?
Did you ever see such a rotten show?
Oh, you can't convince me we haven't got a good play.
Sure, when it's fixed up a little.
And of all the tough luck, after the first act, the leading man and leading woman have to have a fist fight in the dressing room.
And then that Texas lug, right in the middle of the first act, knocks down a piece of scenery.
It serves you right. It was the mean trick, making him stay backstage with electricians so he couldn't see the show.
Good evening, Mr. Lehman. I hear you've got a big success. Congratulations.
Where's Calvin Jones?
He went to his room to wash up for the party.
Tell him to come to my room right away.
I know I ain't much at fancy talking. I ain't no great shucks at courting, but I do know that I love you, Ruth. Now that the show was a big success and I'm gonna make lots of money, I kind of hope that you like me. I know this is kind of sudden like, but I'm just dying to take you home and show you to my mother. I've written to her every day about you, and I know she's gonna love you and be mighty proud of you.
Come in.
I guess you heard me talking to myself. It's an old cowboy habit. We always do that when we're riding the range alone. Makes it much more interesting because we never know what answer we're going to give ourselves.
Mr. Lehman wants you to come over to his room. There's some work to be done.
Work? What work? I thought we was going to the banquet. I feel like a good cold glass of milk.
Well, you better see Mr. Lehman first.
Now, where did that sap Jones go to?
I don't know, but I hope he picked one of the places I'm thinking of.
Oh, why don't you lay off? All of you. Poor fellow, he's only trying to be helpful.
You're paid to put down notes.
Lehman, these people was good
And
enough to
I'm
come up...
sick of you, too.
Now listen.
I won't listen. Who's running this show anyway?
Yeah, but Mr. Lehman, I was only trying to help. After all, I'm part producer of the...
You've only got 49% of this thing. I'm main producer, and from now on, I'm going to do all the talking. And if you don't like it, get out!
You shouldn't ought to talk to me like that. I'm a very touchy fella.
Wait a minute, Sam. You're not going to get away with that. If you think you can take his dough and then kick him out, you're all wet.
Who do you think you're talking to?
To you, wise guy. You hooked him with a lot of phony talk, sold him the idea of putting all of his money in a turkey show, and now, like every other little cheap tin-horn crook, you want to ease him out. That's just the kind of a trick I expected from a four-flusher like you. I should have known what kind of a guy you were when you hired me to help you hook him. Well, there's the money you gave me for smiling at him and making a fuss over him. Well, you can take it and lump it. I'm through.
You're fired!
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Come in.
I heard what you said in there just now, Ruth, about being paid to be nice to me.
Well, what if you did? If you didn't know till now, it's high time you woke up and found out.
You sure played your part good. Gosh, you got me just goofy about you.
Listen, Calvin, I know you won't believe me, but I'm sorry.
Sorry? What for? I'm glad.
Glad?
Sure, look what happened. They hired you to be nice to me, and you really fell for me.
Fell for you.
Heck yes. If you hadn't, you wouldn't have stood up there and fought for me like you did just now.
Get this straight, Calvin. I could never fall for a man who hasn't got a backbone. And that's a couple of cheap pikers push him all over the place. They grab your dough and then tell you right to your face you're a sucker, and you take it. You talk about Texas. A Texas cowboy. But that's all you ever do is talk.
I never thought about that.
They've got you roped and hogtied, and you're afraid to talk back.
Oh, they have, huh? Well, we'll see. One of these fine days, I'm going to lose my temper.
You go in there and tell those birds where to get off. You're a part owner. Go in there and act like one.
Just you watch me. Well, I did it.
Calvin.
Yes, sir. Rope and hog tie me, will they? I showed them.
What did you do?
I bought them out.
You didn't do that.
Yes, sir. Got it for $5,000. 200 cash and the balance before noon tomorrow.
But where are you going to get the 4,800?
Gosh, I hadn't thought about that.
You're hopeless, absolutely hopeless. You go in there and tell them you're through being a sucker, and you come back a bigger one than ever.
Yeah, but I own the show now, Ruth. Own all of it.
Calvin, the show's a flop. It's hopeless. It's a turkey. It won't last 2 days on Broadway. Lehman and Mac know that. Miss Martin knows it. Everybody knows it but you.
Honest, Ruth? You ain't fooling.
Certainly I'm not fooling. It's terrible. Lehman made you work in the wings tonight so you couldn't see it.
Oh, I took a peek once in a while.
Don't you realize you've lost every nickel you've put into it?
Gosh.
Why did you give him more money? Why did you buy him out?
Well, that's the only way I could keep him from firing you.
Oh, Calvin.
Ah, Mr. Jones, I came up to get you and Mr. Lehman. They're cutting a cake downstairs. You must come down.
Having a good time, huh?
Marvelous. You show people. You make a fellow feel right at home. And are they having fun? Great business, show business.
You said it.
Someday I'm going to get into it. Be a producer. That's me. I've got several thousand put away for it. I'm not so dumb.
You've got several thousand.
I sure have.
And you want to be a producer?
I sure do.
Come right over here and sit right down, sweetheart. Now, look, I've got a proposition for you. Did you see our show tonight?
No.
Good. Then I can speak freely. Now, look, we've got a little show. It's all about a girl. Now, get this. First act, lonely night, lonely ranch, cabin. Inside the cabin and outside it's snowing and blowing. It's snowing like the dickens. You know why? Well, Oscar, it looks like we're roped and tied. No costumes, no play.
Couldn't they wear their own clothes?
What, and spoil the whole play?
I thought I had some good news for you, but it turned out a dud.
What's a dud?
I found some wardrobe trunks downstairs, and for a minute I thought we were saved, but when I opened them, I found all they had in them was Shakespearean costumes.
Well, what are you waiting for? You passed them out, didn't you?
Of course not.
Oscar, Shakespeare or not, we're going to put our brand on those costumes. Duck down and pass them out to the cast.
But listen.
You heard me. Hand them out to the cast right away so they can get used to them.
Are you crazy? Do you know what Shakespearean clothes are?
No, I don't know what they are, but I sure like the name.
Well, they're clothes people wore hundreds of years ago.
Well, that's all the better. Then they'll look old, like people been wearing them on the ranch a long while.
People will think you're crazy.
Well, I'd rather open with costumes and let them think I'm crazy than open without them and have them know it.
Telegram for you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Dad. Hope it ain't from the scenery people wanting to take that away, too. Gosh.
Not bad news, is it? Dear son, you've never failed yet. Know the show will be a big success. Love, Mother. Isn't that sweet?
Ma's always rooting for me. Always has been. Kinda helps a fellow over the rough spots.
Is this what I'm asked to give a performance in?
Well, what's the matter with it?
The matter with it? He asks me what's the matter with it. It's impossible. My following, they'll think I'm insane. I look like a horse.
Not when you're standing up, you don't.
I'm through. I can't go on.
Now, Miss Martin.
You can have the part. I quit.
Okay, sweetheart. If that's the way you feel about it, we'll get a new leading lady.
Calvin, it's too late. Tonight's the show.
That's all right. You're going to be the new leading lady. You know the part. You heard it enough.
Me?
Sure.
Now I know you're out of your head.
Act quick. Think on your feet. This is the show business, sweetheart.
Well, I can thank my lucky stars for getting me out of this before we opened.
Come in. Well, Mr. Jones, so you decided to take the tickets after all, huh?
Tickets nothing. I'm here to corral my leading lady, and I'll thank you to trot her out pronto.
Now, don't get so smart, young fellow. You know, we boys are a little bit sensitive.
Oh, yeah? Well, you want to be just a little careful, because I got a bad temper myself.
All right, Spike. He's asked for it. Give it to him.
We ain't clowning, fella.
All right, throw 'em up. I hope I didn't hurt you, friend. That's a little trick I learned at a roundup. Now you can fork over my leading lady. Get up and get back there. When you try that trick, make sure you ain't standing in front of a mirror.
Calvin!
Ruth!
Calvin, I'm in the kitchen!
I advise none of you to make a bad move. Pick 'em up. Hit 'em up there.
Calvin!
There's a cab waiting at the curb. Go downstairs and get into it.
Calvin, hadn't you better come with me?
Don't you worry none about me, honey. I'll be along in a minute. I got some business with these tarantulas. Keep 'em up. Don't move. Come over here, Ruth. You're on my side now. Silence. The lights went up. The city guy is dead.
Oh, Calvin, please don't go.
Say, don't worry about me, sweetheart. Just worry about those hoodlums. You stay right here.
Oh, but Calvin! Calvin!
Come on, let's...
Calvin Jones is putting on his show tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good show.
I reckon you better go to see. You're going to see your show tonight, Mr. Jones.
You'll like it, sweetheart. Good, huh?
Hi, Mr. Jones.
Morning, Lem.
Calvin, Ruth. Howdy, Mrs. Ruth.
Hi, boys.
Well, Calvin, how's the big producer?
Still clicking, Silas. Still clicking.
Please like and subscribe.